My name's Chris Brindley. I'm the chair of the Northern Ireland Football League Board. I was appointed in June 2024, so approaching 18 months now in the role. So the board is made up of 9 members. That is 5 independent members, so the likes of Ciara McReynolds. Ciara is well known in Northern Ireland in the legal profession. Also we've got Johnny Medill. Johnny works in London for a company called Sheridan's. Johnny works on the contractual side of players and volunteers, and we've got 2 new members, Nevin Truesdale, who's a former chief exec of the Jockey Club, and Robert Blackjack. Robert has worked across Europe, really understands digital, commercial and revenue. Blended to that, we've got the football club members that represent the clubs in the General Assembly and the NIFL membership base. So we've got some real great expertise inside of Northern Ireland football, outside Northern Ireland football. Our purpose is to grow the game, and that is growing participation, it's growing revenues, it's looking at our broadcast deals with our broadcast partners, it's making sure that football runs really well in our divisions. Also we look at growing the women's game, and also taking a really good look at the youth strategy and how do we get more up and coming professional athletes, both male and female, in the future. So the board has responsibility for the growth of the game, the administration of the league in Northern Ireland.
Nevin Truesdale. I grew up in Hillsborough. I've lived in England for a good chunk of my life since. University, through work with Ernst & Young, Centrica, and then more recently the Jockey Club, which is the business that runs the Cheltenham Festival and the Grand National. So I've been involved in sports administration, sport business for the last 12 years, and really enjoyed it, and this was a good add-on to all of that. Grew up watching the Northern Ireland Football League in the sort of 80s and early 90s. So I've always had an affinity with it, I've always followed it, and I've followed Northern Ireland. Like, I go to most Northern Ireland home games, even from where I live just outside of London, so I've always had an affinity with football in Northern Ireland, and this is just something perfect to be involved in, to try and put something tangible into that, given my experience in sport business and in helping to grow fan base, fan engagement, social media engagement, attendances, and ultimately help grow a game that I love.
My name's Ciara McReynolds, and I am an independent director of the NIFL board. Been great just to have everybody back together, obviously, since the summer break. We've met our 2 new independent directors, which have been great to get on board. It's been great just to get everybody's heads together for the next season ahead for the men's football. We've come a long way, I think, with regards to the NIFL strategy. We're sort of halfway through it, so it's a matter of sort of taking our time, reflecting backwards to see how far we've come, and also to consider where our next steps are and how we can develop the game in Northern Ireland.
My name is Robert Blackjack. I've worked in sports business, technology and governance for the better part of the last almost 20 years. It's an interesting journey, and hopefully some of the learnings that I have experienced I can now share through my work with NIFL. I find NIFL extremely fascinating as an opportunity with what we want to do here. Both the existing board and the management are very progressive. They fully understand the challenges of modern football, and they would like to address it head first. They are not shy from discussing difficult topics and what has to be done also in terms of transformation and the change through the league. And if I can share some of my experiences, a bit of energy, I look forward to that challenge as well.
Once a year we get together for 2 days. The Northern Ireland Football League, before my arrival, under the wonderful stewardship of Gerard Lawler, the team and the board put together a strategy between 2023 and 2028. Strategies need to be reviewed at least once a year. We tend to do it 3 times a year, but what we really do is a deep dive. We start looking at each of the pillars, whether that's competition, whether that's governance, growth of the game, whether that's administration, whether that's women's football, and we really start to look at where the game is, where the game's going, and what we need to do in terms of a board is to set the strategic direction. So there's lots of introductions of new members, as we've had yesterday. We've talked about whether or not our current season that mirrors other sports, rugby union, England Football League, England Premier League, actually whether or not we need to commission a review on that, and we have done. So we're now starting to look at is there a possibility of a change of season, starting to look at clubs' performance in Europe, starting to look at lots of different things. So the 2 days is the opportunity to spend time together, really understanding the direction of travel and making sure that we are being proactive in supporting the game in the future, not just looking at what it's doing today, tomorrow, next week, next month.
I'm Colin McKendry and I'm the vice chairman of NIFL. It's been a very worthwhile exercise, as these away days are, because people get to know each other in a more informal process, but there's an awful lot of work that goes on prior to today, and there's obviously a lot of work that goes on during the sessions. We have looked at structure, we've looked at strategy, we've looked at a number of different things, and obviously seasonality and everything else that's coming up for debate, and we have our formal board meeting coming along as well. So it's sort of been a very busy 24 hours.
Obviously, as an independent director, I think it's been good to come in and sort of learn from the football directors, how they see it on the ground, how they're feeling with it in their clubs and also within the leagues, and then also to then implement sort of from a legal perspective. It's been very good to get involved with that, just in order to encourage and promote professional football in Northern Ireland.
So meeting the board members over the last 2 days was definitely very interesting. I'm really impressed with the quality of the skill, experience, talent already involved with the league. The support from the management and the operational side is also quite impressive. So I think the league is very fortunate to benefit both with the board members and executives that come from different backgrounds. Definitely what is interesting also, there is a mix of different perspectives. So the discussions we had, different viewpoints, allowed us to have quite active discussions and conversations, which again hopefully will convert into results that fans and wider audience will be able to see, both on the pitch but also off the pitch as the league grows.
It's been great, actually. I mean, it's been a really, to be here on a couple of days induction rather than just one meeting online, doing it, having that as my first meeting has been hugely beneficial. Being able to get to know the longer standing members of the board. Obviously I knew Chris a bit before, I knew Johnny before, but it's been great to be able to meet not just the board members but also the members of the team as well. And I have to say, everyone's been so welcoming, and I feel we've got a really strong, good, sort of positive collaborative atmosphere going, and that's something to really be built on.
Observing the league since COVID with more attention, I see the attendance figures increasing, the popularity of the league both domestically and overseas. I think this is also credit to the community that is built around the clubs, but also the broader international appeal of Northern Irish football, its clubs, its community, its heritage, what it stands for. But secondly, thinking about what is the potential ahead of us, there's the clips, the video content that NIFL were producing or is producing right now, the way how those little materials starts popping up here and there. I think overall we are heading in the right direction. There's still work to be done, but what I've seen so far definitely attracted me to see the footprint and something we can build on going forward. What is also interesting is it's a relatively compact league, so clubs work close to each other. There are no so much like big distances, so when we want to introduce some new ideas, I think it's a little bit easier to also produce it initially. Again, let's see how that goes, but I'm definitely excited about the challenge.
I feel very passionate about football generally and football in this country, the country that I grew up in and still have a very strong affinity with, and I want to see the local game grow and thrive and prosper, and I think there's massive potential for that. There's a lot of competition out there, don't get me wrong, from other sports, not just other sports, other leisure activities, not just on Saturday afternoons, but across some other parts of the week as well. So we have got to be delivering, a really strong competitive game that people really want to go and watch week in, week out.
NIFL has grown incredibly since I first joined it. I think it's maybe 8 years ago. I may be in my last year at the moment, and it's been a journey. But we've now got Jared come in as the chief executive. We brought other independents on, and with that brings different expertise. Whilst it's still a football organisation and it's football led, we do need different skill sets, of which we have some exceptional people in this room at this moment in time that I never thought would want to be part of the NIFL organisation, and I think it's great for the leadership team as well. We've got a very strong leadership team here.
Look, if you look at all the statistics, the league is doing really well, whether that's number of spectators, whether or not that's eyeballs. If you look at social media, we've had an incredible growth in the number of people visiting our social media sites. Lots of good news around people aged 18 to 34 starting to connect with us. Actually, we've seen year-on-year growth of females interacting with us at NIFL. So we've seen lots of good areas. Disappointing area, sadly this year we've not got any men's team qualifying for the group stages of Europe. We would like to see how we can change that, because if we're getting more of our men's teams, for example, in Europe, that will change coefficient. If it changes coefficient, we get more money. If we get more money, we can do more stuff. So that's really important. And as I said earlier, I think looking at whether or not playing through the winter is good. We did a report last year which gave a real strong evidence that some of our men's clubs are playing their European qualifying games. It's their first or second game of the season, and actually we're playing against teams that are playing game 36, 37 because of their league seasonality. It doesn't mean they're better than us, it just means perhaps they're more match fit. So we look at that, and obviously I look at the women's game. I was at the League Cup final this year with record attendances, but we actually want to really think about how we grow that women's game and actually having more academies. I work for the Premier League in England and see the positive impacts that academies can have in growing both the men's and the women's games to make sure we've got better quality players. Therefore it's a better product, and both our national teams will also get the benefit of that. That just brings more people wanting to take part in more of Northern Ireland football, whether that's an international level, a professional level, a women's level, youth level, grassroots level. So a couple of areas to work on.